Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I am back on again with Kayla Silverman. She has just put out an all new track titled Mine. I am loving it more than you will ever know. In the next 20 minutes is just gonna be me like talking her up and checking in on her. So Kayla, thank you so much for coming back on. How are you doing today?
So good to be back here again. I hope everyone is well and staying safe.
Yeah, all is good, all is good. Just living life, getting through it, figuring
Definitely.
everything out, you know. Life goes on, music gets made. But
Definitely.
let's hop right into this single. So again, I would love to hear all about the lyrical content and sort of just a general consensus and overview of this song for everyone.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So my next single, mine, coming out September 3rd, is this song about growing up and the beauty of growing up and finding a place that's completely yours. So I wrote the song with my best friend Evan Seeblick, and it's about my love for my apartment. I moved into Boston. I moved to yeah, exactly. It's a love song to a place.
That's got to
Um,
be a first.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and I was gonna say, and so what was I gonna say? And so it basically, I moved into this dingy little apartment. It was I lived by myself in Boston to go to college at Berkeley, and everything was falling apart. The lights weren't working. My fridge, crazy story. My fridge stopped working, and so my landlord couldn't get me a fridge for a month and a half, like 2 months. And so I went off and I bought this like mini little fridge, and I actually hosted Thanksgiving dinner, and I made a full ass like three-course meal with this tiny mini fridge. I still am very proud of myself for that. But it's like, yeah, this dingy apartment, but and things were a mess, but it was my mess and it was my apartment, and it was
Right.
this incredible feeling of, you know what, it's not perfect, but it's mine, and it's a place
Yes.
that's completely. And so the song basically goes through the different like things that I would do in this apartment. I would basically sit outside the window, and it's funny because my window was facing another apartment, and I was watching other people live their lives, and I there's always this couple that was always making pasta together, and I would see them. And so the first verse is basically me looking out the window and being like, wow, like this is my view, but I love it. And then the second verse is me sitting in bed, like turning off the lights all by myself, like being alone, but then counting myself to sleep by saying my blessings, and counting my blessings in the apartment was always one of them. So that was basically the idea of the song.
I
So
love that
yeah.
so much. I didn't think how relatable that would be. I've been in that same exact position before where I'm just like, I'm in this really crappy apartment, but I'm by myself. I'm self-sufficient. I'm independent. I don't have to, rely on my parents for things anymore. Like, as crappy and as bad as it seems looking out from the outside, really the feeling of having it being yours is just the most comforting feeling.
Oh,
I
100%.
love that you've made a song that encapsulates that. That's crazy. I would have never guessed. Like,
Thank you, thank you.
I think you need a
I
music video that just detailed everything that you just said.
Actually, I do. I have a music video coming out the day of the release, and it's basically me walking around with my cat Kugel. I think we mentioned her in my
Yeah,
last interview, and she
that's
she
name.
popped up to say hi. And so it's me and her chilling out in my. Actually, I moved into a new apartment, so it's my new apartment, but
Okay.
it's still that same feel of like, yeah, this is mine.
Well, I have
So
not seen that video, but I will make sure to include in everything because you've just given me like the visual representation. That's so awesome.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Once again, the production is an 11 out of 10. Seriously. And I mean that like from the bottom of my heart. It is once again so intimate. There's so much happening in the background and like the converging, almost choir-like vocals that like happen towards like two-thirds of the way in sent like literal shivers down my spine. I cannot even put it into words how much I've enjoyed listening to this song. Can you
And
speak once again on the production and sort of just the background of putting it all together?
what made me fall in love with this, I worked with my producer, so I basically have two main producers. One of them that's like mostly my sound engineer, and the other one that finishes up the like final product. My sound engineer, his name is Josh K. He goes to Berkeley, and I brought him this song, and we spent like 3 months um, um, setting it all up together, getting exactly the sound that I wanted for this because I really wanted this to be a special song. And this also was the first time that I used live strings in my compositions,
Oh,
which is, and so yeah, those are all recorded at Berkeley in the
that's
recording
amazing.
studio by NEC students, New England Conservatory classical string players, and it was arranged. I worked with one of my other really good friends named Eduardo Chokran, and he we worked tirelessly on the string arrangement together, sending back and forth projects and tweaking things, and really it took months
I
to
can
and
tell, but it paid
um,
off. It's so much. I think that now knowing that it's actual strings and not just like a keyboard arrangement or like, oh yeah, I found like this, this little patch on something and I just kind of looped it in. That makes it all the better. The fact that how do you even begin to arrange something like that? Do you just kind of hear it in your head and try to explain it and say, do this? I don't know how that works.
kind of it's really interesting, especially working with arrangers and producers. It's really, I think I've mentioned this in the other one as well, based on trust and kind of this understanding. And sometimes, musicians have different languages, and I have to learn their language, like the specific textbook
Mm-hmm.
language, and talking about bowing techniques and talking about what kind of dynamics I want. But also, a lot of it is just kind of a feeling. And I say, I want this feeling right
Mm-hmm.
here, and I need it to swell, and I need it to gain pressure, and then I need to release. And those kind of abstract details are actually the most important to me, because it's a more emotion, more based on a feeling, if that
Yeah,
makes any sense. That's
it
and what
does.
I love also is it with those feelings is I get to give my other people that I'm collaborating the freedom to also put in their own emotions and be like, okay, this is what it feels like to me. And so that's why I love working with other arrangers and other producers, because they also can put on, they can also put their own take to the song, and then I kind of piece it all together. If that makes
That's
sense.
amazing. And I feel like people that have actually made it this far in their lives and have chosen to like, I'm going to play this instrument and I'm going to go to school for it, can actually grasp what you're saying. And you know what I mean? And like get the feeling and try to emulate it and adjust based on what you're feeling. So that's,
Oh, that makes sense.
yeah, the one thing I had in my notes was that I feel that this song, not that Breaking and Entering was not grand sounding, but this one feels a lot bigger and it starts off smaller, which is like the intimate feeling that I get, but then it like balloons up and it like explodes in sound and it's so unassuming. But then it just kind oh man, yeah, again, I'm just like gushing about how much I like it, but it's really that great.
Thank you so
And
much.
again, I hope everyone listens.
Oh,
One thing I wanted to know here, because you're releasing music fairly regularly at this point. It's been a consistent thing, and I know you're busy. I want to know, do you work on songs one at a time or in batches, or does it just you have an idea and you start working on it separately? How does your process sort of work like that?
yeah. Let's see. How do I approach this question? It really depends. A lot of the times I will work in batches where I'll start with my producer. I'll write a song. Most of the time, I finish this. I write a song, with my best friend Evan, or by myself, and then I'll bring it to my producer or my arranger Eduardo, and then I'll have like a final product that I kind of know how to get there. And so then I'll be working with a producer. But sometimes there are days where it's like, you know what, I need to just let that track just rest. I
Yeah.
also, between recording sessions, I listen to each track probably 50 times over in my head, trying to like, it's
Yeah,
my job.
yeah,
Like,
I know, but it's just like it's a lot, and
it's a,
it's being too close to the situation, and it's just like you can hear something 1,000 times, and you're like, what am I even? This sucks. Like, what am I doing at this point? But yeah, you
yeah,
do
and
need
you
to
kind
sort
of
of. let it sit for a minute and marinate.
Oh, 100%. Because there are times where, all these songs and my bodies of work, I've listened to probably, hundreds of times. I don't really know how many times I've listened to it just
Right.
because I'm trying to be as analytical as possible and intentional. But because of that, sometimes it ruins the spark in the song that
Yeah,
I first heard when I first heard it or when I first, wrote the lyrics, it was there. So sometimes it's really great to just let it sit for maybe a month, let it sit for another month, and then just kind of then bring it back and say, ah, there's the magic, thank God, and I can keep on going with the song. But sometimes I just finished another song for my upcoming album, so I have an EP coming out, and then the next album is coming soon. So it's kind
awesome.
of like always working on the next thing.
Right.
But for that one song, I fell in love with it, and I worked on it only. And I finished that up in a few weeks. And so there are some times where I will go one by one, but if I really I'm on that
Yeah,
motivation. But most of the time, I do enjoy working on different ones because then I can also see a arc in my body of work
sure.
where it's like, oh, this melody can also relate to here, and this song can transition to this one, and it makes just sense. So that's usually how I like to approach my music
I,
creation.
I get that. And it's not like, like if something comes to you while you're driving or walking down the street, you're not going to be like, well, I'm already working on this song, so that I'm just going to like let it go at that time.
Exactly,
And that's why we
exactly.
have our notes app where we can just sing into our phones and
Oh,
save it for
thank God
later.
for that. Thank God.
Seriously. Now, again, I know that you're busy just with life and music as a whole, but is there anything outside of music that you feel is sort of up to your skills as a musician? Maybe like a normal hobby you have, or just like general life things that improve your ability to create?
Definitely. I'm a religious working. How do I say, gym shark or a gym rat or whatever. I
Mhm.
love working out, getting active. I love lifting weights. That's my favorite thing to do. It kind of is empowering in a way. I also, as a
Literally.
yeah, literally,
Yeah,
because I feel
like,
like
yeah,
what's been amazing is doing live shows. Um, and jumping around and exerting my energy and saying, "Oh shoot, like I'm not even that tired. Like I can keep it going." And
yeah,
so that's definitely helped my progress. It also is a way for me to kind of just take a break, from music, from school, from life, and it's just like I'm in this one space and I'm pretty much only either listening to music or I'm only just like talking to myself.
yeah,
And it's definitely a space to actually do a lot of reflection. So I would say that being in the gym, working out, and also another thing is I'm really into nutrition as well. So like cooking or making, I meal prep sometimes, where like basically I'll like make food for myself for 4 days, and that like
yeah.
2 hours where I'm meal prepping is another time to just reflection and saying, okay, how can I nourish my body while also nourishing my life and all that kind of stuff. So
I
that's
think
how
we
I
might be the same person. You just described my life,
really
literally
no
the same
way.
exact.
Oh my
Yeah, I
goodness.
mean, I get it because lifting weights is like nothing else matters besides finishing that set. Like you can't you have to like sort of block off your mind on whatever's in there because you have a lot of weight in your hands and you could hurt yourself. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like, and
100%.
then the meal prepping thing is just like, yeah, like I take away Sundays or Mondays and I make food for the week, and it's like you're like laser focused on the timing and like, okay, this is baking, so I gotta roast this, and it's like a math equation, and you're just trying to
Oh,
figure it out perfectly.
100%. What I like to do, especially for weights and like weight training, I like, break them up in my head. I'll be like, if I can just get through 5 of these reps, okay, 5 more. And I
Yeah.
know it's hard, 5 more. And that's usually how I do it. And it's very rewarding to kind of challenge my mind in that way, which is totally a different, way when I'm creating music and challenging myself and pushing myself forward for
Right.
the
Well, it's just a never-ending cycle of challenging yourself and hitting those goals. And you have to be thankful for that. Like, there's so many people that don't have the drive or the willpower to accomplish anything in their lives. So the fact that you're getting it, you're getting in there, you're making music, you're a student, you're doing everything, like, you just pat yourself on the back right there.
Thank you so much. You know what? Actually, what made me learn that the hard way is like I lived by myself, and it's like, hey, if you're not going to do it, it's not gonna get done if you don't do the dishes. No one's gonna come in and do them for you.
Mhm.
So it's kind of allowed me to apply that elsewhere. It's like, yo, if you're not gonna go to the gym, no one else is gonna go to the gym for you.
Right.
So
Now, the best way is just throw an 18-year-old kid in their own apartment and say, live. Clothes aren't
exactly.
gonna wash themselves. Like, you gotta do your laundry.
Yeah, dude, clean up after yourself. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so I gotta know, for someone just starting out in the music business or even just thinking about making music for the first time, now that you've really accomplished so much and you're on the way to, releasing an EP and an album,
Mhm.
are there any tips and tricks that you would recommend for someone who wants to give it a go?
There are a few things. I would say that I learned that I'm really happy that I have embraced. I see a lot of self-made artists,
Hmm.
which is, and I see them on TikTok, and they're like,
Yeah.
I produce this all myself. I market this all myself. I will, I played all the instruments. I did this, and it's really impressive to be able to mix your own track. It's really impressive, but there but getting help and having a team around you is not bad. And a lot of people take pride in doing it all yourself. But for me, collaboration and like, I love my team. Like,
Hmm.
my manager is my best friend, one of my best friends, or like my arranger Eduardo. We went to a concert yesterday. It's very like, and but then we sit down and we make music together, and it's a beautiful experience. And then I'll have like my friends who are also artists. I'll like bring them into my own project, and there's no shame in getting help, because a combined effort is so much better than just one single perspective and one single
Totally.
venue. So I would say that's one thing, and then another one is listen to as much music as possible. I know that's a really huge cliche, but
Mm,
um,
it's
you
not.
know,
There's a lot of people that listen to the same song over and over and over, and they don't really branch out. And I think in terms of making music, it doesn't matter what genre of music you're making, it's best to listen to everything to like sort of influence yourself.
Oh, 100%. And there's also things in, I'm not a huge pop punk fan, I'll admit it, but I will sometimes force myself to listen to that music to then realize, hey, like, why don't you like this music? Or you know what? Can you like this music? And what can you then implement elsewhere into your own music? And so I think of music very analytically, and I try to just branch out as much as possible, because you never know. I remember
Sure.
in quarantine, I had a really dear friend of mine. We did these listening parties together, and he's a music connoisseur, and he listens to everything and anything. And he introduced me to Wise Blood. I think I mentioned was one of my biggest influences. And
Yes.
if it wasn't for him, I would not be the musician I am today. So it's kind of, you never know. You never know what will inspire you.
It's
So
true.
that's my two big tips. Yeah.
Those are great tips. And now I want to hear the Kayla Silverman pop punk record. 2025, let's get it going.
Goodness, I did have a very short-lived pop punk actually experience. My friend, he's in a band at Berkeley, and he wanted to do like "Want Me to Forget Me Too" by Halsey and Youngblood. They
Mhm.
wanted to do a cover, and they asked me to sing, and I was like, "You want me to sing pop punk vocals?" I was like, "All right, fine." And so we made like a music video, and it's out on YouTube if anyone wants to see it. But
Oh, man. I'm
it,
in.
my career was very short lived.
Awesome. Well, hey, you
So
know what? If it gets a following on it, who knows? Give the people what they want.
I'll make an alter ego. How about
There
that?
you go. So it sounds like you have a lot planned at the moment. I kind of want to know, this is a tough question because who really knows, but what does the next year of your life look like in terms of just life and music and just general?
Definitely. So I am obviously going to go into starting school very soon. I'm a Berkeley College student. So I'm going to be learning a lot of composition aspects. I've always wanted to be able to arrange for strings and just arrange for orchestras, and so I'm slowly learning how to really effectively do that. So that's one thing, but I'm also working on an album at the moment that is gonna come after my EP. Hopefully in a year, hopefully in a few months. I'm really trying to figure out how to effectively do that.
Yeah.
But I have a single that's ready to go. I have the image, I have the branding right after the EP is done. So I'm excited to
Awesome.
drop that very soon and get that starting in kind of a new era, if you will, of my music and my look and my branding. But for me, the biggest thing is I've started really arranging for live strings and
Mm.
live musicians. And so one of my songs for the upcoming album is basically going to be a rhythm section. So that's like my regular touring bands is drums, bass, guitars, and piano, and then I'm going to have a string section, and then I'm going to have a big brass section, and they're all going to come together and do something really huge, which I'm super excited about. So that's pretty much it's gonna keep me pretty busy.
I would say so. I would say so. Yeah, okay. Because a lot of people are like, I don't know, I'll just kind of figure it out. And it's like, no. If you want to be effective at this type of thing, you just gotta plan. You gotta, I mean, it sounds like you got it together. So
Thank you so much. I really
I can't
appreciate
wait to
it.
hear it all. I'll just say that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, last time we spoke, we quickly realized we have a lot of the same music interests. And so I want to know, it's been a couple months at this point. What are you listening to? What can you recommend that I listen to and just anyone in general?
Let me pull up my
Pull it
like I
up.
did just I have been really into let me see. I just re-listening to okay, here I'm really into Sharon Von Etten and
Ah,
Angel Olsen.
yes.
They're one of my they just released a like a duet called Like I Used to, and I listen to that while I work out, and man is that empowering. I
Awesome.
started getting really into St. Vincent. I've always been a fan of her, but I listened to her whole discography the other day, and she
Pretty
insane.
badass.
She's such a like also a marketing genius, and I really look to her
Yeah.
for inspiration because man, she keeps people on on their toes. I'm trying to look what else am I super into. Um, Matt Maltese, I know he blew up on TikTok, but he has other really amazing songs.
Never heard of them.
Other than so he sings the songs like "As the World Caves In,"
Okay.
and another song is "Curl Up and Die," and he basically he it's very lush indie music, and I he's such a great niche and such a genius. So I've been listening to him a lot. What about you? What
Okay.
have you been listening to?
Oh man. Let's see. In the last few days, do you know who Big Red Machine is?
I've heard the name.
It's
Yeah.
the project of like Justin Vernon, who is Bon Iver, and he basically like did a collaboration album with some of like the best artists, like Robin Pecknold from Fleet Foxes does a bunch of vocal features. Like he got, I mean, Taylor Swift is on it. Like there's a bunch of amazing songs. So I've been listening to that.
Oh,
Um, there's, I don't know if you're familiar with the band King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, maybe, maybe
yes,
not.
yes.
Yeah, they're like one of my favorite bands of all time. They just put
Awesome.
out an album called Butterfly 3000, which is super different from their normal sound. It's like a psychedelic, disco-y, like,
Ooh.
I don't even know. It's just like, it's so good. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm always just like listening to playlists I've made or just like random stuff. But I think for sure that you would like this Big Red Machine album. It's definitely up
Ooh.
your alley.
Oh, 100%. I'll definitely check it
It's
out.
pretty
That'd be
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for recommending all
You're
that.
welcome. Yeah. When am I not listening to music? When are we not listening to music?
Exactly.
True.
Amazing.
Okay, Kayla, I have one more question for you, and it is the same question because who knows who is watching this? Basically, it's the same thing. For the person that is going to discover you from this, for the person that is going to listen to you for the first time, what is an opening message that you would like to say to them?
Yeah. Well, for mine especially, it's this song is basically finding the voices in the silence. It grows. basically this song at least is from me. It's like a little tinkering in my house and then slowly going into an orchestra. So basically creating things and creating lush sounds from the everyday. And it's basically I think I mentioned this again, romanticizing everyday life and taking out the glory in living by yourself or falling in love with falling in love and you know just reveling in an amazing feeling. Or and even in other songs for like look away, it was really agonizing my insecurities. And so it's really taking that like glorification of life and putting it to the extreme and really having those 3 minutes of just either complete and utter joy or this feeling of hopelessness. And so it basically is, I want to challenge people and really just concentrate on emotions. So it's kind of an emotional overload. That's what I would that's I guess what I would say.
There's
But
nothing wrong with that. I love that.
yeah. Really
Once
is fun.
again, Kayla, this has been such a pleasure to get to talk to you and to get to like experience your music and really like get into your head about it. I cannot thank you enough for coming back on. And
Thank you
for
so so
everyone
much.
else out there, mine is out and will be out by the time this is out. Listen to it, listen to everything else, and just like really take it in. Like listen and just experience it. I cannot talk you up enough. You make amazing music.
Thank you so much. That means the world.
You are so welcome. I sincerely hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will definitely be talking soon.
Oh, you as well. Bye everyone. Stay safe.
Bye bye.